Hi.
Hello, and welcome to a special episode of Oblivion, a Star Wars story. We're going to do something a little bit different today. Not quite a bonus episode, but not quite a progression in the storyline either. I have here with me Jill Morgray, Narsor, and Ophelia. And so we are going to talk about some shared backstory between these three characters as well as backstory themselves. So, Narsor, I have a question for you.
I have a multitude of answers, none of them you probably want to hear.
Well, I want you to describe how you came to Janundal and what it was like to arrive. I'll help you out with some of the visuals, but I want to know uh I know Narsor worked. I know who Narsor worked for. It's already been kind of established.
Yes.
But
Narsor.
go ahead.
Imagine Narsor arrived on Janundal, well, under a job for Davik. And after the job was over, Narsor just decided to stay around.
Okay, but how all right, and so let's backpedal a little bit. What were you doing before you came to Janundal? Like, what was the mission that you came from? Were you chilling on Coruscant with him? Um, were
I
you
forgot
executing
Narsor
another?
was a city boy for a minute.
Yeah, you're a city boy, my man. You haven't been a city boy for a couple of months, if I'm remembering correctly, or maybe that's been years, but you've
No, I
been
think it's been a
traveling.
couple of months.
Yeah, you've been traveling a little bit. So
Oh,
what did you
yeah.
do prior? What was the job you did prior to coming to Janundal?
I would say the job that was he was on before coming to Janindal was he was assigned the Davik was getting one of his shipments around, and he was not Narsor being Narsor and not having the comprehensive ability to understand what was in the shipments or what the shipment was normally was just told, "Hey, see this box here? Don't let anyone touch it. If they touch it, beat the fuck out of them."
Right. Right. Okay. So an escort mission. So
And
cool.
Narsor, being 400 pounds of whale, um, fairly effective.
This is true. I would imagine he's very effective, especially considering what he's packing. You're packing a vibroblade, right?
He's packing a big, like it's a large vibro sword. Like
Right.
it's probably a little like there's enough space for two hands on it for a normal person.
So you step off of, um, what did you catch your ride to Janundal in?
Um,
Freighter, passenger transport.
imagine it was a freighter, so Narsor could keep an eye on the crate the entire time.
So you step off of the ship with a crate. Is anybody with you, or was it just you transporting that crate?
I feel like it was probably a low profile mission, so
Okay, hold on.
it was
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
wait,
Hold on.
low profile, send the whale.
Yeah, exactly. Low profile, said the whaleman. Um,
So they sent just Narsor because he's effective, and while his profile certainly isn't low, people don't tend to walk up to a whale and go, "Excuse me, sir, what are you doing here today?" When he has a big ass murder stick on his back.
yeah, this makes sense. So, okay, so you step out of the cargo transport onto the planet's surface. You are in a docking bay, much similar to ones you'll find yourself in the campaign, and you step away from the ship, dragging the crate on a hover transport. It's kind of on like a picture a like a I don't know, one of those large flatbed shopping
Like
carts. You know what
it's
I'm
like a
talking about?
pallet jack, but no wheels.
Yeah, pretty much. And you drag it over to the contact that Davik had sent you a picture of. No name, of course, though, since he didn't expect you to remember the name. And
Name's too
you
complicated.
exactly. Um, you drag it over to him, and the guy nods at you and takes the pallet jack off your hands, and he hands you a pouch full of credits, and you both part ways. And as you walk out into the street, you get a message on your communicator, and it's Davik. So, do you take the call out in the street, or do you take it somewhere private?
Narsor gives a quick look around for an alley.
He sees one.
Narsor walks into the alley.
Alrighty, and is that where you're gonna take the call?
I'm gonna clear out like make sure there's no one in the alley first.
Okay, you're good. Nobody is in the alleyway with you.
Narsor takes the call,
Okie dokie.
keeping like as much of his body shielding his comm as possible.
The communicator buzzes to life, and a blue image of Davik stands before you on the little communication device, and he waves at you and says, "Hey, big fella, how you doing?"
Good.
Very good. So there's something that I need you to check on. Um,
Hmm.
There's an associate of mine, and by the way, I heard that the delivery mission went well, so good for you on
Mhm.
that. Very good job. Um,
Narsur is just smiling. Praise is good.
there's an associate that I need you to check on. Okay, he is actually on the same planet that you are. He's he's an old contact of mine that I've used several times in that region. He's he deals in assets. He deals in assets, and um, there's word on the street that he might be in a little bit of trouble. So I need you to go to these coordinates after dark, and I need you to check on him and make sure that he's okay.
Mhm.
All right,
Understood.
very good. All right, be safe, okay, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, Davik out, and the communicator goes dark, and you are left alone in the alley. Let's jump over to Ophelia. So, Ophelia, there was a point in time that you participated in Janundal operations for the Empire before you kind of um, before you kind of flew the coop.
Yes.
Okay. I need you to tell me about the day that you participated in Operation Darkness Purge, which was the name of the operation for Imperial forces on Janundal in arresting and, if needed, executing any and all criminals that would stand against the Empire in the system. What did a typical day for you look like?
In an operation such as that, Ophelia went through a lot of just normal motions, as in she got up, she got ready, and she was immediately put into a sort of like a not a tank, but like an isolated room that
Right.
was apart from her already isolated room. And that gave her time to just settle in and become accustomed to sort of focusing in with the Force, which is what she used to spy. When she was ready, they would give her photos, maps, any sort of visual that would help her focus in. And they would they would leave her, and they would set about watching her through um, like video cameras, and just sort of surveillance stuff, while also obviously keeping tabs on their targeted areas. So she would sit in that room. Uh, it was dark. It was once she would start, they would make it dark, like a sensory deprivation. So she would put all of her focus into that, and in a way, it's sort of like astral projecting, um,
Right.
what
Right,
she
right.
does. And so she's not physically there, but she sees the people. If they gave her a photo of somebody that was suspected of rebelling or, being a traitor, they would have her focus in on it. And she would have to report what they were doing. And sometimes it was, as simple. Sometimes she'd catch them doing nothing, just, going about their day, so there's nothing to report. But some of the higher profile targets, they would have her, I mean, checking in repeatedly and repeatedly, and sometimes spending multiple days just on one target, catching their every move to make sure that they weren't doing anything secret. Um,
Right.
when it came to overall locations, um, again, like astral projecting, it was just about moving around in the space, eavesdropping on conversations, things like that.
Well, on this particular day, you have a lot of projecting to do. You've been around the planet and eventually you come to a business. You come to a speeder repair shop. Um, you are viewing this man in a mechanic's uniform talking to customers, and the your supervisor for the operation has you consistently checking in on him over and over and over again, until finally you come back to him and you see him returning a speeder bike to an owner, and you hear the owner ask if the mechanic made the proper additions to the trunk like he wanted, and the mechanic would nod and say that everything that they wanted was in there and included as asked.
It's
Um,
information. Oh,
well, no,
sorry.
how would you go about looking into the trunk of a speeder if the people didn't open the trunk? Like, can you just phase into it like Casper the Not So Friendly Ghost, or
Um,
um,
it's not that easy, especially if it's something that's like locked. Um, and also like a tiny space, because obviously she can't just shrink herself down. Like she doesn't have control over her size. She's still herself, just sort of astral projecting. Like if it was not open, she would probably go about I mean, inspecting the bike, I don't think she can't physically affect things in the space around her. Like she isn't able to open it herself. So, um honestly what she would probably do before they take it, um if the thing isn't open, she would go to look for like a checklist or some form of notes of what those additions were.
Okay, I need you to roll plus sharp then. You are able to find a receipt is being handed from mechanic to owner, and
Mhm.
the receipt has um, on it, it says trunk expansion, and that is all. It doesn't have anything more than that on the receipt.
All right. Well, she would she would make note of that, and she would probably she would tell her supervisors that, because she realizes that that is something of note, something they would be looking for.
Right.
So, she would tell them that, you know, he put a trunk expansion onto a customer's speeder bike, and as they're taking that speeder bike away, if they're obviously taking that away, she would probably try to follow them, or if she could get a name for that customer. Is there a name on that receipt
Mm-hmm.
of? Okay, so um, she would probably then sort of pull herself out and ask if she gets the name of the person with the speeder bike. She would ask them to do like a search for that person. That way, if they could pull up a photo, she could focus in on them without having to like schlep herself, astral projecting, force projecting, all the way, wherever, however far they're going.
Right. So they ask for the name, you give it, and they report that that person is already on their list of suspects. So they're going to track them down and then search the vehicle. They tell you to go back in, and you find yourself back in the garage. The door to the door to the outside of the garage is open, as is like there's a side door, and then
Hmm.
there's also the open bay door that the speeder just drove out of. So where will you go?
Where do not the bay door, the door to the garage? Where does that lead?
You step through, and it takes you into a backyard of sorts. It's a very small fenced-in enclosure. You see what looks to be like a personal speeder bike across the way, um, parked next to like a side gate, and then there's a patio leading into the leading through a set of glass doors into a bedroom, it looks like.
She's probably, she's probably gonna have to go to that bedroom sooner or later. So,
Okay. As you walk towards in your astral form, as you walk towards the door, a woman steps through the door. There's another door in that room. She steps through that door carrying a plate and walks, like opens the door, the sliding glass door, walks through, and then walks through you on the way to the garage. What do you do?
follow her,
Okay.
because unless she's gonna go eat in the garage, she's probably bringing that plate to repairman.
You follow her into the garage, and you watch as she gives the plate of food to the man, who takes off his insert some kind of civilian hat here, um, or maybe it's a set of mechanic's goggles. I don't know. But
Mhm.
they take it off their head and set it aside, and they take off their gloves, and it is your future colleague and teammate. It is Gelmore Gray. We're
Mhm.
going to talk about the night that you lost your wife to the Empire and how Narsor was a part of that, who he's in here too. But
Are we recording right now?
I am. So,
Okay.
really quick, there's something. So, actually, let me start by asking you this. What did you do? Because is kind of unclear to me what you did that was illegal and anti-empire. What did
um,
what did you do?
he was a weapons smuggler for some of the raider um gangs on Janundal, as well as small rebels, like small rebel groupings. So he actually took, well, what did I choose to have? One is in it like a truck or something? No, a classic car. So his little Coruscant speeder, and he'd fly weapons out to these gangs or outcrops of rebels, basically in a campaign, a little under the table campaign against the Empire.
Okay, that's pretty cool. In your campaigns,
Mm.
in alongside the Rebel Alliance, or not Rebel Alliance, but the Rebel cells and dealing with kind of the underworld and supplying people who needed weapons with weapons, you came into contact with a an employer, or not employer, but rather a supplier whose name was Davik Harding. And you have a conversation um, with Davik several days before the event that we're talking about, and he tells you about how he heard rumor of a competitor of his on Coruscant flying a shipment of unmarked Imperial weapons to Janundal, and how you might be able to intercept them, but he wasn't sure. Um, and it was just a casual conversation. He has informed you several times of different weapons shipments, and he's even sold you some weapons shipments for you to distribute a couple times, or redistribute, I should say. And he mentions that one of his colleagues, a guy who's worked for him for a long time, will be making his way to Janundal to help you out should the need arise. He's a Herjlik whose name is Narsor. And he says that he's a nice guy. He might be a little imposing at first, um, but you should be able to use him in some way to your advantage to get a upper hand on any competition, or help you out just in case any Imperials catch on to what you're doing. So it's a few days afterwards, and you have seen neither hide nor, actually, Herjliks don't have hair. So, um, uh, you haven't seen Narsor yet, and you're sitting in your home with your wife, whose name escapes me. What was her name?
Sally Gray.
Sally Gray. So you're sitting in your home. What uh kind of describe your home for me? Does do the Gelmore do the Grays, sorry, not the Gelmores. Do the Grays live well? Are you guys kind of suburban? What's your deal?
Um, well, Gelmore works out of, I guess an auto body for speeders and light cruisers, I guess.
Mhm.
That would be the best word to describe it. As a cover. So he doesn't live in a nice, lavishing hotel, or not hotel, God, um house. Um but he does live comfortably with the extra money that he does acquire during um his supply runs. He lives in basically like a 3-room apartment or a flat,
Right.
and um got a bedroom, and then the kitchen, the dining room, and like the living room are all in one center space, as well as the entrance to the house.
Mhm.
And then in the back, there's like a bathroom, and there's a separate little area for his speeder outside. Um, it's not too big. It's perfectly comfortable for two married people to live in, and um, yeah, it's a very simple middle class home.
Okie dokie. Um, the architecture of Janundal is similar, especially in the area that the story kind of takes place in. It's very similar to Tatooine because it's very near the equator. It's a lot of desert, dry, hot. But
Hmm.
that's not the entire planet. It's not a dust ball. But
Yeah.
it's got very kind of the domed stone architecture, whitewashed buildings, stuff like that. So it's in the evening, the sun is going down, and Narsor, you are approaching this home that you were instructed to go to by Davik. What is your reaction when you see a stormtrooper transport rolling slowly down the street in the oncoming, like farther down the street? Like it's a good couple blocks off, but you know that it doesn't look like it's turning. It looks like it's being very purposeful and direct, and it's getting closer and closer. What's your first reaction? And keep in mind, this is before, because we are recording this after certain character development has happened. So this is before you got news from Davik. So what?
Narsor, oh, Narsor looks over at it. Does does small whale brain compute that this is heading towards a new potential friend's house?
Okay, and then does what? Is that all that whale brain can compute, or does
I'm
are
asking
there
you, is
more?
this what whale brain can? I need you to, before I can react further, is what does whale brain compute on this?
Yes, that is a whale brain can pick up on that. Yes. Okay.
Whale brain. How far away is Narsor from New Ally's house?
Oh, you're like on the block. You're within walking distance, but you have maybe a minute or two before the Imperials get there.
Narsor will hurry to the house and no, he's just looking for if there's an open door. When he gets there,
So he's gonna look for an open doorway or window.
yes.
He's not gonna knock on the front door.
Well, if there's neither of those, it's bonk on the front door.
Okay. Gelmore, I guess this is a question for you. Did you guys leave any doors or windows open? Do you think, or
No, everything would be closed down. It would be, I guess the around dinner time.
yeah? So would you guys be sitting down to dinner right about then?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Narsor, you go around the building to out back. You see a nice speeder bike is parked out there, and then you look through a window and you see a man and a woman. The man was the same, or the man is the same as the one that was shown to you in a picture by Davik. And he's sitting there at the table with the woman, and they're eating. What do you do?
Our sword just like puts his fist and he clenches his fist and he knocks above the window.
Okay. I'll let you react first. I can imagine what actually really quick describe what Cassie, right? No, not Cat. Yeah?
Sally.
Sally, thank you. What describe what Sally's personality is real quick. Basically, what would her reaction be when she sees a Herjlik knocking on her window? Or rather, above the window.
So Sally is pretty, I guess shy would be the best way to describe it. She's not very outgoing. But like she does warm up to people. But seeing as she is shy and a worrier, um Gelmore would not tell her a lot about the smuggling missions, only that he was doing them. So she did know about them, but she never met any of his contacts or saw any of the goods that he was moving out because she didn't really want to know anything. So seeing a large whale creature banging on the window, she would probably scream.
And so she screams, "What is your reaction?" Because you've looked up what a Herjlik looks like. So I'll leave it up to you whether or not you connect the dots that's Narsor, because Davik said it was a Herjlik named Narsor. You've seen a picture, but the question is, do those two circles overlap to make the thought?
I feel like they would, but first reaction, he would probably jump as well out of shock from the scream and then seeing Narsor for the first time because he didn't really have he had the image of what a Herjalik looks like, but he didn't know that they were that big. So he probably like looked freaked out and then remembered that he was supposed to be meeting him. So he would go over and like give him a signal to go around to the actual door of the house.
Narsor would just look through the window and go, "No, imp on way, buckethead danger."
The way you said Buckethead danger.
I can already tell you're gonna be
Okay.
listening to that clip over again.
Yes. Okay. Obviously, Gelmore would not be laughing at that. So, what is your reaction?
Well, he wouldn't think that he's serious. He would be very put off and kind of like almost offended that he would talk to him in that way because he didn't know of the intelligence of Narsor before he was signed on to him. So he kind of gives Narsor like a bit of a look and is like, "Hey, can you please put that into words that somebody who speaks the English language or the common language would understand?"
Buckethead on way, moving road down here. Down road here, down road here.
Buckethead as in what? As in stormtrooper? Okay. Okay. So why can't you come inside?
Door small.
Door small. Okay. Are you armed?
He just nods his head.
Okay.
Holds up his actual arms.
The thing is, he would do that.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so after he says that, Gelmore would go into the bedroom and go under the bed, pulling out a blaster storage crate, opening up to reveal his personal carry, which would be it's the DC-15A.
Okay.
And it's this, yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah, so he pulled out a DC-15A, which is a very large blaster, and he sets up the little bipod that he has on the front of it on the kitchen table and tells Sally to go into the bedroom and hide under the bed. And
Meanwhile, Narsar would like to try and get in through the garage door.
Is there
Well,
a garage door?
the garage is like a separate building off to the side.
Oh.
Narsor could, in theory, try to squeeze through the window if he was really feeling it.
Narsar will try his luck with the door.
Okay,
Okay.
Narsar, you walk around the side of the building and you see the stormtroopers offloading from the transport and approaching the home of the Greys, and you duck back behind the side of the to the side of the wall, and you look around and you see that there's a squad of about 5, maybe 7 stormtroopers. And you see one marked with captain's markings, and the others are just plain. What do you do?
Narsar walks back to the window, and he like taps to get Gelmore's attention, and then he puts up. He struggles for like 2 seconds before he puts up 7 fingers.
I figured out that what he meant was the number of troopers incoming.
Mhm.
So I turn around and I ask him, do you have a place to set up for the impending attack?
Narsar looks for large entryway that doesn't necessarily have to be a door into the house, such as a large window.
There would be there's like a patio extending out, like a little tile basically extending out from the bedroom. So Narsor could just kind of just shove his way through there. Probably freak Sally out, but
Okay, so that Narsor, how are you going to get in? Are you going to try and go through the door? Are you going to try and go through a window that's that may be big enough for you? What are you going to do?
Wait, when Narsar was looking at the troops, how prepared were they?
They all had blasters in hand. They looked like they were there to arrest somebody.
How big did we say this window Narsar was looking through was?
About the size of like, I don't know. How big do you think it would be, Gilmore? I'm thinking one of those like basement windows where it's like maybe 3 feet tall and 9 feet wide.
yeah.
Yeah, so you ain't
Oh, that's probably enough to fit his head and spine through if he goes that, like, horizontal.
if he
Listen,
goes
3
that
feet is actually
horizontal.
pretty tall.
I mean, yeah.
I do want to point out that I am acting as Gelmore differently because he was a lot different before his wife died.
No, yeah, I would assume so.
So that this isn't me just forgetting how he acts. This is me acting differently on purpose.
Which is skillful, and kudos to you, both of you guys, actually. So, yeah. So, Narsor, you're gonna try and
Off a dive
you're
through the
gonna.
window/wall.
Oh boy.
Yeah, oh boy.
We're making an entrance, boys.
Okay, in that case,
Gotta roll
I'm
to kick
gonna
some ass on the wall.
no. Go ahead and just roll to act under pressure. So roll plus cool.
Hey, that's the one I'm not horrible in.
8. Okay. Gelmore, you hear a knocking at the door as you see Narsor vanish from view. What do you do?
Well, obviously, Jomer would have shut all the blinds and the lights off, so he doesn't answer. He just has his gun trained on the door.
By order of the Empire, you are ordered to come out with your hands up. If you do not surrender peacefully, we will be forced to use other measures. This is your first and only warning.
Jelmore wouldn't move.
You hear the sound of something clicking against the door. And then you hear a hissing sound. And you see sparks start to shoot from the edges of the doorway. And they start at the top and they start moving down and around 2 arcs simultaneously, going to either side and slowly making a circuit all the way around the door, cutting in. And just as the door finishes, or as the arcs finish their circuit and the door starts to fall forward, there is a deafening crash as a giant Herjlik comes hurtling through the window from behind you in a semi-graceful swan dive. And he does not stick the landing, though. He dives through. He goes smashing into a couple chairs off to your right, and as the troopers enter, they all stop. They see you, then they see the Herjlik starting to stand up, and you hear at least one of them say,
What the fuck?
as I assume you're gonna squeeze a blaster bolt off into all of them.
Yeah.
All right. You start firing the rifle, and they all scatter. How are you gonna handle this, do you think?
So they scatter where? Do they move outside or?
Some of them move back out the door. 2 of them dive for cover. Is there any like furniture at the entryway to your home or anything like that?
Yeah, there would be. So when you enter, the kitchen table is off to the right, like right there.
Right.
And then the kitchen is a little further back, with the bedroom door off to the left, basically right across from the front door. And then the bathroom is off to the left, but opposite to the kitchen table on the left is the living room setup. So it's got couches, chairs, whatever have you, in a typical living room for somebody in middle class on Janundal.
Okay. Then in that case, 2 stormtroopers kind of dive/move into the living room and take up positions behind the couch, while the rest remain outside. You manage to get that one that had started to utter an explicit term, and he is down on the ground. moving a little bit, but he's down. So, what are you gonna do now?
Um. My next move would probably be to flip the table and take cover behind that.
All right, Narsar, what are you gonna do?
The stormtroopers flipped the table.
No,
No, I
Gelmore
did.
flipped the table, and the stormtroopers moved into the living room that are across the living room area that's across the way from where Gelmore is. What are you gonna do?
We're just gonna look to Gelmore for guidance for a minute. Help! What do?
Gelmore would point to the living room and shout at him that, "Hey, they just ducked behind the couch. Can you go do something about those two?"
Narsor takes 2 steps back and is just gonna rush into the living room at the couch.
So it's all the same room. I don't know if you accidentally
Yeah,
disconnected from the call,
they're
but
Yeah,
it's
I
basically
I've been here. I'm just probably missed that part. So he's gonna 2 steps back and then he's gonna rush the couch to slam it against the wall.
all right.
got
So
moved.
you basically stab your claymore through the couch, shish kebabbing it, moving it towards the wall, and just pinning the 2 stormtroopers that were behind it um, against the wall. Now with the couch moved up against it, and you hear them squirming and crying out underneath. And one of them sees you and tries to levy their blaster at you and squeeze off a shot, and they miss, and it goes into the overhead light and causes it to shatter in a miniature, not fireball, but like a miniature explosion almost. Um, you also hear the sound of breaking glass from the bedroom, and you hear I don't know. You hear a tiny scream, but not a large one because I assume Sally's trying to just stay quiet and be under the bed. Um, but it sounds like somebody came in through the bedroom. You have 3 Imperials accounted for. That means there are 4 more, and you don't know where they are.
I suppose while those two are distracted, I would pick up my blaster and run towards the bedroom after hearing the glass break in there. Can blasters go through walls? Like, what's the
I would
likelihood of
venture
that?
to say yes, depending on their material, but given the architecture of this city, all the walls are made of stone. There's not a lot of very thin walls.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with no in this case.
All
Good
right.
question though. Keep that in the back of your head.
I will. All right. So yeah, I just enter then.
Okay. You make your way towards the bedroom, and you hear the sudden movement of furniture, and you hear a scream as two of the stormtroopers exit the bedroom, coming into the kitchen, and confronting you. So you're face to face with these two stormtroopers who have their blasters leveled at you. What do you do?
So there are two stormtroopers in the bedroom.
No, they just came out of the bedroom into the kitchen. So, like, you are entering the kitchen, they are entering the kitchen from the bedroom.
Oh, okay. So I would have my blaster at low ready. So I would obviously pick it up and jump off to the right towards the back of the house. Firing off if I can manage to hit either of them. So just firing as I jump.
Right. Okay. Go ahead and roll to kick some ass. You got a 9. So a 9 is still a mixed success. So they You fire off some shots. You kill one of them, but they both manage to get a shot off on you, causing significant damage to you since you're not. I assume you don't sit down
Not
to
armored,
dinner.
no.
Yeah, no. I assume you don't sit down to dinner in Kevlar, so or the equivalent of. So,
No.
you take significant blaster damage. Narsor, you see him. You see one stormtrooper drop. You see him. You see Gelmore, the guy that you were supposed to protect. You see him go down. What do you do?
Sword out, couch, and basically, and this sword is going right through that stormtrooper. Like he is booking it. Like this stormtrooper will know fear as the 400-pound whaleman is running at him headlong with a claymore.
Yes, he does. I'm not gonna make you roll for that because there's no way you're gonna fail it. So, you slice through him, and he drops to the ground, and I assume you're gonna drag him out. Are you gonna clear the place of stormtroopers, or are you gonna drag him out?
I'll grab the two dead and, to assert dominance,
No,
huck
no,
them
no, no,
out
no,
the
no.
front.
I mean,
Wait,
I
what?
mean, kill all the stormtroopers on premises, not clear the
Yeah.
bodies.
Oh, yes. I will kill all stormtroopers on premises.
You enter the bedroom, or you start to enter the bedroom, and you hear a blaster go off, and you hear after you hear a female scream. You enter the room. You see Gelmore's wife. You assume laying there with a with a stormtrooper standing over her. A stand trooper, with a stormtrooper standing over her. Her body smoldering after being shot. The stormtrooper standing there. Let's see, what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a stormtrooper standing there, and then a stormtrooper farther back, just outside the window that they broke through. What do you do?
What do I do? So, tell me the positions again.
Basically, there's one stormtrooper pretty much a few feet in front of you, and then way farther back and through a glass door, essentially, um, is another one. They're all in a straight line, though, practically.
Narsur just levels his sword and at them, brings it close to him, and just rushes.
This is Unit 2319. We're under attack.
And that's all he can get out before Narsor shish kebabs him. But even as you do, and you impale both of them, you look up the street now to see another Imperial hover transport rounding the corner and bringing in reinforcements that were apparently on standby because they didn't know how this encounter would go. You see a transport coming down the street, and then you turn and look the opposite way, and there is another one approaching from the opposite direction. What do you do? Gelmore
So all current
is yeah. So both directions, and Gelmore's conscious, kind of.
Narsor put his sword back on his back, and he would grab Gelmore's wife because all he saw was Gelmore specifically tell her to hide, so he can assume she is important. Grab Gelmore's wife and then grab him, and then out the window from whence he came. Actually, no, out the window that just broke here because that's faster, and he's just gonna book it out.
Okay, so as you exit the bedroom with her, one of the stormtroopers that was pinned behind the couch shoots you in the arm, causing you to drop her, making your arm go numb. You take the sword from your back with your good hand, and you cleave the blaster in two, and then shove the sword through his face, and he moves no more. And the stormtrooper, the stormtrooper that was pinned next to him, falls very silent and very still. You put the sword back on your back, and you look down at your arm. It's not nasty by any counts compared to what you've seen before, but your your arm just isn't. It's numb. It's pretty much gone limp at this point. It's nothing that some Bacta won't fix, but you can only carry one person. So,
Question:
answer.
how big is a Herculix mouth?
No.
Oh no! Oh no! No!
The
No! No!
answer is
No!
the answer is no.
Oh boy! Wasn't ready for that one.
Jelmor's name in another life was Jonah. Anyways, uh, no, but no, you may not put one of them in your mouth or hold onto them with your mouth. Your mouth is not big enough. Like, unless it can unhinge like a snake. I don't think you can do that.
I don't know. The pictures show it's like a killer whale's mouth, where it's just sort of. Eh. That is my scientific diagnostic, by the way. The technical term is. Eh.
You could try, but I guarantee you there is no way you would not.
Hurt them.
Yeah. So.
See, he looks between the two, and he like. Jomo looks a bit beefy. We can put him in our mouth.
Then the words of what's his face, Davik, echo through your mind like Professor Oak in a Pokemon game saying there's a time and a place for everything, and that place is not here.
Oh
No,
man.
Davik's explicit instructions were to make sure that he was safe, above all others. So
Yeah, and I don't know what safer place than having him literally in front of me as I'm running away.
as you're sitting here contemplating this,
I
it's
am
you
putting
hear
him
the hover.
like him shoulder gripping him and putting his wife under my arm.
Okay. You start to move out of the house and you squeeze through the doorway and you see the hover tanks approaching. What do you do? Or not hover tanks, but hover transports approaching. What do you do?
How close to the edge of town are we?
I
Or
don't
rather,
know.
how close am I to a safe house that I probably came from?
Couple blocks. But you've got a hover transport approaching from the way that you came, so you're gonna have to take back alleys. That's gonna slow you down, and the fact that you have two people, one of which is very limp and the other one is semi-lucid, that doesn't help either.
Dart into the back alleys we go.
Narsor, you round a corner, and standing in front of you is a figure in a hood, um, that covers pretty much everything about them, and then the shadows of the alleyways don't help either. And a voice comes from the figure and says,
What are you doing? It was supposed to be a quiet pickup. You were supposed to go get him and then bring him away. What happened?
and you recognize the voice of a contact that you only heard the voice of when you were on call with Davik just a few hours earlier. And they are another one of Davik's contacts here on Janundal. So they're asking you what happened. What do you do?
Narsur is gonna like, uh, He's gonna try and speak through Gelmore for like 10 seconds before he realizes he needs to put Gelmore down.
Please tell me
So
he
he
just like
just
spits him out and just lets him fall.
he just like leans forward a little, like towards the wall, towards a wall, and just like bucket heads were on way. Already down road from house when arrive.
I see. So that's him. Who's the other one? Who's the woman?
Important.
They tilt their head to the side and look at her and say,
He's more important according to Davik. Why did you bring her?
Important to him.
they nod and they hold out their hands and say,
I'll take her. You get him to the safe house. Go. It'll be safer if we split up.
Narsa will hand off her to the contact. Does he know that? Was he told the contact's name?
nope,
Nope. Just this is contact.
yep.
We'll hand her off to him, and he will pick up Gelmore under his arm and continue towards the safe house.
Narsor, you make it back to the safe house, all right. And Gelmore, you are badly wounded. There's somebody else at the safe house who manages to bandage you up and get you on the road to recovery. The last thing that you remember before blacking out is the sight of that shadowy figure leaving with your wife. A few days later, once Narsor is sure that you have recovered, he lets you go on your way, which that leads to a whole nother debacle. We'll get into that later, but I guess that's the day that Gelmore Gray really went from being light to gray.
Ew.
But bump. Ayo. I feel terrible now. All right. Gelmore, I have a question for you.
Alrighty.
Describe the day you met your wife.
Okay.
Like I want to know how did you meet your wife?
So, Gelmore met her during the Republic era, so he was still not into his criminal activities yet. He was still doing his job as the repairman. So he met her one day while somebody came in. It was a father and a daughter, and the father had a problem with, I don't know, insert Star Wars ship part here. And he left, and Gelmore started talking to the daughter, and he invited her to dinner at the end of the week, and she said yes, and that's how it went from there.
Flirting with the customers. Wow.
Yeah, all right.
Wow.
Epic tactics.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the customer was having problems with his power converter. That means that Gelmore has to go to Tashi Station to pick up power converters.
Oh my gosh, no. God, get
Ew.
whiny Luke out of here, please. Good grief, Griffin.
Go to Tachi Station to pick up power converters.
During your brief time away from Fireteam Oblivion, let's fast forward a couple months. Fast forward to the point where you have parted ways with the fire team that you broke into the compound with. You are now kind of operating as a lone wolf unit almost. You are in the Oblivion base. Okay, you could only take with you what your pockets could carry. What did you take from your house? Like,
I
they
would have
trashed
taken.
your bike, they tossed your garage, they tossed your entire house, and when they didn't find anything else of value, they left. What did you take? Sorry.
Okay, no, you're fine. That helps me. Um, so they just trashed all the big things, and they left like small, would look like junk to somebody else, but
Yes.
treasure to me. Okay. He would take um the he he was a very sentimental person and liked to keep memorabilia of days that were important to him.
Right.
So he would have kept the broken piece of her father's ship to memorize the first day that they met. So he would have grabbed that. Obviously the picture. And probably a piece of her jewelry. Because that's all I could think of right now, at least. I don't know.
That'd probably be all you could think of at that point. Like,
Yeah, because they probably would have tossed most of anything they saw of value. So probably something like a necklace that was on the ground that they just missed or something like that.
be rock. You rocking a pearl necklace there, Gelmore?
Yes, sir.
So, what did you give? Let's say that you're sitting in the base after a supply run for Alphalis, who is the Lasat that you guys have on your team. You're sitting back in the bunk room and you're holding the pearl necklace. Um, where did where or when did that come from? Like, did you get it for her? Did she pull a fast one and just go? Was it an impulse buy on her part? Like, um, what significance does it have other than the fact that it is a piece of her jewelry?
um, the necklace would be. The necklace would be. It would look somewhat poor, very old and weathered, but it's a piece that had been passed down from her grandmother to her mother to her. So it's an old piece of jewelry that her grandmother got and made it an heirloom, passed down to her. And now that she doesn't have um the ability to pass it on to anybody else, he kept it.
All right. Okay, then I guess the last question I have for you is um how well did you know her family?
Um Gelmore was a very social person. He enjoyed being around people. That's why he was a very charismatic person, was able to secure a date after meeting her on the first day. So he got along with her father and her mother and the rest of the family. But after she died, he became very distant and somewhat of a recluse to social things. The last he probably would have seen of any of them would be her funeral. And then he probably would have cut ties with all of them while he went on his
Did
little.
did she even have a funeral though? Like, there was no body. You never saw her again. And like, if I remember correctly, when we recorded, you were in like a half conscious state when you saw her for the last time. Um,
Well, You don't need a body for a funeral.
This is true. So, did you even make an appearance? Did you guys have a secret funeral, or
It probably would have been a secret funeral, seeing as it was in a death caused by the Empire.
right?
And you don't want to make something like that public, especially in the early days of the Empire. So, no, it was probably a very small gathering of just close family, not even friends. And then that was it. And they all parted ways.
And those are the thoughts that linger in your mind as you hold as the part from her father's broken ship sits at the head of your bed in kind of like this niche in the cave wall, and you look at the pearl necklace and the picture, and the thoughts that drift in your mind are those of nothing but pain and disappointment and tears as you left the funeral for the one that you wanted to spend your entire life with.